Well, good afternoon, everybody. I hope everybody's having a good week. We're going to go ahead and get started. I want to thank everybody for joining me today. This is our 8th webinar in our webinar series, the 8 chapters of my book, Addicted to Life, How I Went from Homeless to Extraordinary Success and Happiness in a Short Period of Time, your 8 Principles of Success. As always, I want to assure you that we're not going to do a marathon today. I know everybody's in the middle of their workday, and we're mindful of that, and we'll certainly respect that. I think we're probably going to run today 20 minutes or somewhere in that ballpark. But again, I want to thank you guys for joining me today. And get the slideshow going here. There we go. So the 8 building blocks or 8 chapters of my book, Addicted to Life. Number 1, you've got to be done. Chapter number 1, building block number 1, you got to be done. Until you say to yourself and the world that you are done, nothing is going to happen. And then naturally that segues right into chapter 2. Until I actually take some action, get uncomfortable and take action, it's all talk. And we all know the saying, talk is cheap, right? So chapter 2, building block number 2 says that I'm going to go ahead and take some action, not just talk about it. Chapter 3 says that I need to create the wave of momentum, which is nothing more than stacked actions, getting uncomfortable and taking action over and over and over again, sometimes in the same area, sometimes in different areas, but continually taking that action, usually outside of our comfort zone, that creates that wave of momentum, that creates that exponential success. Chapter 4, building block 4, you've got to prepare now for what's coming. We've talked about advantages with a capital A. What are my advantages? What differentiates me from the guy next to me or the crowd? And by preparing now, by, as Jim Rohn would say, by making working on me more important than working on my job is what will differentiate me from the crowd each and every time. Building block number 5 is we must be open to the unexpected. That means God will use the most mysterious of messengers to send us opportunities from time to time. And really, what we would consider crazy or unexpected, we got to be open to that. We got to be ready for just about anything and take those opportunities seriously. Building block number 6, you won't always feel like you're winning. I've shared what was going on in my marriage, a winter time that was happening, and the book goes into depth on that. Meanwhile, having summertime in our businesses and other areas of my life, and you don't always feel like you're winning or making progress, even though you are sometimes. Chapter 7 or building block 7, you've got to understand the law of exposure. We talked about that at our last webinar, and the law of exposure says, what I have exposed myself to, I shall become. Period. It's reliable as the law of gravity. Surround myself with good, I become good. Surround myself with great, I become great. Surround myself with mediocre, I will remain mediocre. And then you won't always do it alone. Chapter number 8 or building block number 8, which is what we're going to talk about today. Success being a team sport, right? So in the book of Alcoholics Anonymous, there's a phrase that says, what at first appeared to be a flimsy reed has proved to be the loving and powerful hand of God. And I go into depth on that in my book. What at first appeared to be happenstance, what at first appeared to be coincidence, what at first to be pure luck, what at first appeared to be pure luck has proved to be the loving and powerful hand of God. And I've seen it over and over and over again in my walk, in my success journey, in my spiritual walk, my marriage, and my relationship with others. It's an amazing phenomenon. As long as I put myself out there often enough and expose myself to the possibility of things not going correctly, the flimsy reeds tend to happen over and over again. So I want to introduce you to a couple people, and if you've actually read my book and actually made it all the way to chapter 8, you've met a couple of these people already. This is Jake Garcia with his beautiful wife, Nikki. And Jake, as you'll remember in my book, we refer to him as Noah, kind of a joke because Jake is the one that flooded his home. And I hadn't talked to Jake in I'm going to guess 2 to 3 years, when I happened to just decide to call him on the way home from the gym one day on a Sunday. And he answered the phone, and I didn't know it was him, as the book talks about. I won't go too deep into depth here, but it sounded like I was talking to the Tasmanian devil. I barely could get a word in edgewise. I knew that he was renting his rooms. He was a bachelor. He was renting his rooms to other bachelors and roommates. Thought I was talking to a roommate, didn't recognize his voice, and was about ready to hang up the phone. When made it very clear who I was. Please make sure that Jake gets the message that Rob Rowsell called. And just before I hung up, Jake, it's like a light switch flicked, and he went from one personality to another personality, and he said, "Rob, it's me, Jake, and I need your help, man." And my heart sunk into my stomach like there was no tomorrow. I pulled over to the side of the road. I didn't know exactly where his new house was, and I was able to finally get enough information out of him to get to where he was. Found him passed out in his bed. Whole house was flooded because he had attempted to take a bath and fell asleep with the water running, and it was just an absolute mess. And Jake today is, I coached Jake through as a mentor through the beginning days of sobriety. As a lot of you know from the book, I also coached him when he was fed up with his career and where he was at in his career. And he came to me and asked me about real estate. I coached him through how to wholesale and buy, fix, and sell houses, which was his strategy. He's now probably one of the largest single-family homeowners in his area. And Jake has since retired, a year later, retired from the job that he was unhappy with. And Jake is probably one of the most successful people I know in so many ways, not just monetarily. Certainly he's done very well there, but also as a calm, spirit-filled man. I learn a lot from Jake as he has learned from me. So that's a reciprocal thing. It's a pendulum that swings both ways for the two of us. I'm partners with Jake on many projects today. And we happen to be at a fundraising event, as you can see from the photo in the background. One of Jake's children is a special needs child, has Down syndrome, and we're at a function to raise money for the community, the Down syndrome community in Arizona. And what a coincidence it is that I would pick up the phone and call Jake on the way home from the gym that day, just out of the blue, when I hadn't talked to him in 2.5 or so years. No, that, my friends, is what at first appeared a flimsy reed, but has proved to be the powerful and loving hand of God. We talk about flimsy reeds. We talk about what appears to be possible coincidences or happenstance. It wasn't happenstance. God had his hand in that phone call. And the friendship that has come from that phone call to this day is truly remarkable. I want to also introduce you to Marty and Valley Cox. And Marty is also in chapter 8 of my book, if you've read that far. Marty had an aunt whose name was Anita. And Anita, when I first got to California, I was going to church alone. I share that in chapter 6. My wife and I were not yoked alike. I was trying to change, and I knew that church was the answer to that. Chasing after God was the answer to that. And I was attending Sunday school, adult Sunday school, before the service. And I met a bunch of people in that class that are friends to this day. One of them was Marty's aunt, Anita, who is no longer with us. She passed away in the last 6 months, but God bless her. But she, every week at the end of the Sunday school class, we would go around the table and we would all share, for those that wanted to, a prayer need that we wanted the other people in the class to pray for. And then once everybody was done sharing, we would go around the table and pray. And every week, just about without interruption, Anita would ask us to pray for her nephew, Marty. And, it was pretty common when we both were there for all of us to be praying for Marty. Marty was a drug addict. He had lost his kids. He was homeless. And, through my encouragement to Anita, she didn't give up hope. We continued to pray because I assured her that if I could get sober, anybody could get sober. And so lo and behold, about a year goes by, and Anita is not at the regular Sunday school class, which really wasn't a big deal. So we all missed from time to time. But as I entered the sanctuary, I could hear someone screaming my name from across the sanctuary. Couldn't see who they were, but she said, "Rob, Rob." And I looked over, and finally when I got a visual, it was Marty's Aunt Anita waving her arms through the air at me saying, "Rob, this is my nephew Marty, who we've been praying for." Oh, she's the cutest thing. And so I met Marty, and it turned out Marty and I had a lot in common. I asked Marty if he had a sponsor. He said no. I said, "You do now." And quite frankly, we hit it off and have become friends, and quite frankly, have a relationship. we have a relationship that is strong even to this day. We're practically neighbors. We live in the same town. Marty has, through a series of events that only God could have orchestrated himself, he got his kids back, got full custody, became a business owner, and really by taking action and all the steps that are in my book and taking direction without debate, over and over and over again, Marty has, just like Jake, somewhere's in the ballpark of 15 years sober. And this picture was taken at our friend and pastor's daughter's wedding in Oklahoma that we flew out for. And, just what an amazing coincidence that I would be in Aunt Anita's Sunday school class for a year before ever meeting Marty. And to this day, we've been friends for close to 15 years. Isn't that amazing? No, once again, that, my friends, is what we refer to as a flimsy reed, because what at first appeared to be a flimsy reed has proved to be the ever-loving and powerful hand of God. Marty is heavily involved in our church. Currently, he's on the board. He's been on and off the board various times. He's done everything from Sunday school teacher. He's a youth leader for many, many years, many, many years. I can't think of a role in the church that he hasn't played to make himself available and use his gifts and talents. And he's just a phenomenal man of God. And it's a pleasure to call him my friend. And all of that is kind of goes to, trying to change the slide here, so bear with me. All that goes to what we've been talking about. You can't do it alone. Marty and Jake have taken direction, not just from me, but from countless others that have really, really poured into them and giving them direction. I've shared Richard in a number of the chapters because Richard kind of flows over into a number of the chapters, but he was my last employer. He coached me how to own my own business. Look, none of us is an island that's capable of achieving our goals and dreams alone. We all need others to get to where we want to go, a guide through the jungle, if you will, of the unknown. Show me a successful person that says that they're self-made, and I will show you a confused person. It's really that simple. Success is a team sport. You'll need to get help from others to get where you want to go, regardless of the industry that you're in, regardless of your current level of success, regardless of how good you are at what you do. Think of you doing it alone as pedaling a tricycle versus you doing it with the team as a 747 jet taking off down the runway. Yeah, it's that big of a difference. Anybody on this call that's achieved any type of success already knows this, so it's really just going to be a reminder for those that are continuing the climb to the next level. Okay, we all need somebody. Now, naturally, Richard's influence on me allowed us, as I've shared before, to get our first auto repair shop in 2004. Second auto repair shop in 2010, our third one in 2014, and then again by a series of circumstances that only God could have orchestrated, our fourth one in 2018, which is not in the book, in chapter 8, or any chapters for that matter in my book, because when the book was coming out, we were closing on this property. So anyways, that affiliation, that coaching, that affiliation, and listening to advice with Richard was a game changer for us, right? So For those of us that that rely on employees as part of our team, our most valuable resource for us to have extraordinary success in a short period of time is going to be our in-house employees, right? That team that we rely on to accomplish the mission day in and day out. Yes, those crazy knuckleheads that some weeks push us to the brink of insanity are our most precious commodity. Isn't that amazing? Select them carefully if you're lucky enough to be the one that dictates who's on your team, and make sure to develop them to the superstars they were meant to be and meant to become. They are our life force. Remember, we can all do ordinary alone. We can all do mediocre alone. We need a team for extraordinary. And yes, in case you are wondering, that is me in the elf outfit. There's Claudia standing behind me. This is at our Christmas party a couple of years ago. This is my St. Louis real estate team. On the left there is my broker that finds us properties, and the yellow dress there is our on-site manager. The gal to the far right is the regional that oversees a number of properties. And then the construction manager for rehab and renovations is also there. So just a small portion, but for those of you that don't have an in-house team of employees, your people are going to be the team of professionals, such as what I'm talking about right here, that help us get the mission completed, right? We also have that. Using a real estate as an example, let's talk about that. We got escrow agent, home inspector, transaction coordinator, appraiser, mortgage broker, title officer, hard money lender, attorney, and all the other team members that help us get that job done. You know who the team is in your industry, so my suggestion would be to select them with care and make sure to give them the appreciation they deserve and recognize them as the important piece of the puzzle or success puzzle that they truly are for all of us. It's so critically important. This is what that looks like, and all the different pieces in the real estate game that are part of our power team. Sometimes we don't need all of them. This is a pretty exhaustive list. For every transaction, I don't need all of these people, but and this is a page. This is a screenshot of a page right out of my real estate study guide, beginner's study guide that's available at no charge on my website. So I just want to encourage you, if you would love to get a little bit of an insight. It's pretty basic. Some of it will be truly basic. For others, there will be pages that are pretty much in depth. I just want to let you know that this is pretty good stuff for all of us as a good reminder, regardless of how many transactions that we've done. Okay. For those of us that have auto repair shops, you know, our success team is our vendors, isn't it? I mean, one of our clients, we have numerous clients as auto repair shops, and they don't all have cars that need to be fixed, right? Our employees are our clients, our vendors are our clients, our stakeholders are our clients, right? So the gentleman on the far right, I've known him for 15 years. Before Napa purchased a chain of auto repair shops in this area. And unfortunately, I'll report to you that I was at his wife's funeral. His wife passed away in the last year and a half, actually, about a year and a half ago. And good news is he has found love again, and I'll be at his wedding here at the end of March to his new bride. The gentleman to my left there with the black shirt on, his name is his last name is Hood, and he's at the Georgia national location for Napa. He oversees all of the Napa. Ted Hood, I'm sorry, I drew a blank there. Ted Hood is his name, and he oversees all the Napa Auto Care Centers. I've met him numerous times. He has a copy of my book. To have good relationship with our vendors, I think, is so critically important to our success. To think that the old days, that wasn't as critical. It wasn't taught into me as being as critical as I recognize it as being today. It is so absolutely critical to recognize the value and the importance of all of the pieces of the puzzle that make up success for us as business owners, in this case, auto repair. I find it very, very important to recognize the importance of every one of our vendors and remember that we can't do it alone. Nobody does it alone as good as they do with the team of support. And our power team in auto repair has nothing to do with escrow officers and transaction coordinators. It has to do with our vendors. And we want to take those relationships very, very seriously. Bear with me a sec. There we go. And I shared this photo with you last webinar. I'm sharing it with you for a different reason today. We all know Robert Kiyosaki, and most of us know his wife, Kim, that's on the stage. But over on the far right is a gentleman by the name of Mark Ray. And Mark was Claudia and I's first real estate coach, because the other component that goes hand in hand with the discussion of not doing it alone is the use of a coach. It does not matter the area that you're trying to improve in or the level that you've already achieved. If you're going to perform at your highest level, a coach is an absolute must, an absolute must. Because of that coaching, we have our buy, fix, sell business today. And then, this is Joe Vanderbilt, who's one of my first health coaches. Remember, we're talking about extraordinary success and happiness. I set goals in a lot more areas than just business and finances. My book talks about the many areas, and I'll just throw out a few. One of them is in my marriage. One of them is in my spiritual life. One of them is in my health. One of them is in my social life. One of them is in my role as a parent, my role as a leader. I set goals in all those areas. But Joe, don't let his size fool you. He's a huge pussycat. He is just a really, really sweet-spirited guy. And to even get him to flex his muscle like this is like yanking teeth. He's such a humble guy. But I will tell you, you don't get from where this was to where I am today alone. Usually, you don't fix this alone. Usually, that's going to take a number of different people jumping in and helping. And there has been a number of health coaches along the way and continues to be today. If you know someone attempting to overcome an addiction, it's absolutely critical to get what we call a sponsor, right? Which is nothing more than a fancy word for a coach, right? A sponsor is a coach, okay? And the person acts as a mentor and helps guide that person through the minefield of recovery that they've already walked through. This will be the difference between success and failure in recovery. And that is a life and death situation for most of us. I know that I went after sobriety with the desperation of a drowning man because it was life and death. Unfortunately, a lot of people don't realize that. And this has made all the difference in the world for me. I think my friends Jake and Marty would agree. The founding fathers of 12-step programs understood the importance and understood that we couldn't do it alone. Why anybody would ever experiment with that is beyond me. The only thing that it costs is a little bit of humility in the beginning. You've got to be humble enough to ask for help. We all have to be humble enough to ask for help. You won't do it alone, and if you do it alone, I guarantee you it's 10 times the time to get it done by acting like an island all by yourself. Yeah. One of my coaches in the beginning was, quite frankly, was my probation officer. I reached back out to Jennifer Adams in 2016 and let her know the success that we were having. It wasn't that easy to find her. And quite frankly, we had a great lunch with her and my family and just brought her up to speed on what was going on, gave her a copy of my book. And actually, it was my first book she got a copy of, which was my chapter contribution book to Brian Tracy's latest book, The Success Blueprints. And then we did eventually mail her a copy of the one when it did come out. So what a great reunion that was. Just really, really cool stuff. And then another coach, a lot of you will recognize this face, is Mr. Gary Gunn. And quite frankly, Mr. Gary has been instrumental in making change in my life, encouraging me and teaching me and showing me the way, and more importantly, getting around other people that didn't necessarily coach me one-on-one, but coach me from a distance. We talked about that with the law of exposure in chapter 7. There's so many roles a business person is forced to play. Most people, a lot of you on this call might relate to this, if they knew everything that we had to do and know and behave like in order to be a successful business owner, we may not have taken on the challenge, quite frankly, because the list is so long. The list of tasks seems overwhelming at times, whether you're an independent contractor, a sole proprietor, or have 100 employees in your 5 corporations. Having a coach that's outside looking in to help you stay focused on the things that allow your time to be most productive will be the difference between the tricycle and the 747. The time stealers will always win if you do not have accountability to a coach. I repeat, the time stealers will always win if you don't have accountability to a coach. I've done it both with and without a coach, and there's no comparison to the results that I've achieved. Just having someone that I got to report to weekly or bi-weekly or monthly will make all the difference in all of our time to destination. Absolutely game-changing is what that is, right? Oh, I do have to say that there has, there's been one counselor that has made all the difference in the world for me, and that, of course, is God. You see, the man that I am today and all the successes that I've accomplished or ever hope to accomplish in the future are because of his grace. And the way that it was explained to me is justice is getting what I justice is getting what I deserve. That's what it is. Justice is getting what I deserve. Mercy is not getting what I deserve. And grace is getting what I don't even deserve. And I am forever grateful because I certainly don't deserve anything that's in my life today. I pray I never get what I deserve. I don't deserve the marriage that I have, the kids that I have, the relationships that I have, the financial base to work from that I have, the businesses, all of that, excuse me, is all due to God's beautiful grace. Oh, forgive me for that. Now, that being said, I will tell you that he will only be as effective in helping me to change. Whoops. Whoops. There we go. He will only be as effective in helping me to change as I allow him to be. What I mean is, if I don't act on his counsel, following his example, when I'm out there being tested by the real world, then the results I get in my life will always be the same. If I want to be more like him, I must get around him. I get around him by being in his written word regularly so that I can witness his example. That's how I become more like him. How will I become more like him if I don't know him? It's really that simple. And this is how I begin every day with few exceptions. It's become a habit for the last 20 years since I got sober. It has been the single most contributing factor to the metamorphosis that has taken place in me in my life. It has made me unrecognizable to the people who knew the old me. That I can assure you. If this is new to you, I showed this the same screenshot last week for a different reason, but the Bible app, for those of you that don't have that, I want to encourage you, get into a version of the Bible that allows you to comprehend what you are reading very easily. It amazes me how many people don't realize that there are different versions and different translations, if you will. I happen to read in what's called the NIV, which is the New International Version. The NLT is the New Living Translation. Both of those take out the these and the thousts and are very easy for me to absorb, where I struggle in that area of comprehending what I'm reading. And rather than the King James Version or the New King James Version, which are both very, very difficult for me to comprehend at times, by getting into this app, it's free. It's by YouVersion, YOU version, and it's free. And when you click in there, you can change from one translation to another translation and read it in both ways and determine what is your favorite version to read it in. You can also Bluetooth it to an earpiece or to the speakers in your car. So if this is new to anybody, I just want to extend the invitation to reach out to me. I'll gladly make myself available to offer some assistance here, because this is where we learn how to live our lives, right? If this is already familiar territory to any of you, that's fantastic. Maybe this is just a friendly reminder to get back after this worthwhile habit once again. I know the difference it has made in my life. The way he has accelerated the change in me. When I say he, I mean Jesus Christ. There's no substitution for that. You see, I believe before I can achieve the levels of success I want to achieve, I must become the person that can handle the success I've been wanting. And I personally believe that God helps me become that person. I want to encourage you to read that again. I believe before I can achieve the levels of success that I've asked for, that I must become the person that can handle the success I've been wanting, and God helps me become that person, period. Okay? It's this transforming power that I'm talking about that allows me to be a better husband, a better father, a better leader of my home. Only then can I have the public victories, such as leading the men and women of my companies to success or coaching others to their success, and not feel like a complete imposter. Although if we're honest, we all have experienced those moments from time to time, right? I believe without God, there can be no true success. I'm just going to be completely candid. I don't hide that from anybody. I share that with you openly because I believe, quite frankly, I believe without him, it's just a matter of time before I'm just another tragedy once again. And I don't think it'll take that long. I believe this life that I live today is a gift from God. And what I do with this life, this second chance, is my gift back to him. And I don't want him to be disappointed. So I'm out of my comfort zone often. Even doing things like what you're witnessing right now is out of my comfort zone like you wouldn't believe. But I'm always striving for new levels of victory to show others that anything is possible by the ordinary person. Most people have no idea that I'm outside of my comfort zone, and God makes that possible. Won't you join me? Say yes. So this is not a dress rehearsal. This is life, guys, and the clock is ticking. To act like this game of life doesn't have an end would be a severe tragedy, wouldn't it? You won't do it alone. I want to thank everybody for joining me today, and I hope you're able to grab something of value, as we all should have, and I appreciate you all spending a little bit of your afternoon with me, and we'll catch up with you guys very soon. Looking forward to seeing you all at the All-In Community, which is on my website. I would like to invite you all, for those of you that aren't part of the community just yet, I want to invite you to my website and click on the Join Community tab to learn more about it, where we meet once a month and some one-on-one meetings. And really want to encourage everybody to check that out, where we go deep into depth on a lot of the things that very, very difficult to go into during this meeting. And really, really looking forward to our next meeting, everybody. So you all have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon.